Got the coffee, and it is tasting delicious. Welcome to another FAQ Monday. I'm your host, Fluff, and you know what? We're gonna do a slightly shorter video, I think, for the next 2 videos, because I'm running out of questions, but B, the analytics show no one's really watching past like 10, 11 minutes. The last video was like 18 minutes. We're still dialing it in a little bit, so we are going to go with a few less questions. We're gonna see how that goes. It's anyone's guess on how it will actually go, though. First question! Hey Fluff, what's a good bass plugin? Not MIDI bass, but a bass player to DI into the interface and get good bass tones. Thank you, Paul, for your great question. The few plugins that I have used include, but are not limited to, JST's Hellraiser is actually a really, really great bass plugin. I personally use the Neural DSP Parallax and the Neural DSP B7K Microtubes plugin, whose name escapes me. I think it's called Microtubes. I don't know. I'll put it right here. How about that? The Neural DSP stuff sounds really, really good in a lot of situations, whether you are in, you know, something mellower, rock, metal. I think there's a common misconception that, you know, the Neural stuff is like metal, and I think they've recognized that as well since they rolled out, like, you know, the Corey Wong plugin, which is fantastic sounding. The Neural stuff does great tones, and it makes sense because Neural is an offshoot of Dark Glass. Dark Glass creates some of the best bass stuff ever, so it makes sense that, you know, the best bass plugins come from Dark Glass, come from Neural DSP, in my opinion. Now, there's some other ones. I think there's a free one. It's the BOD, which is basically like a Sans amp that sounds really good. I mean, there's all sorts of like, you know, like Logic has a stock bass plugin that is actually really good. You get a Boogie 400, you get, you know, an Ampeg SVT Classic, and you can move the mic around on the cab. The bass plugin in Logic, for example, is really, really good. So a lot of DAWs have the bass thing pretty locked down. I think there's Pro Tools has a Sans amp built into it. But yeah, those are what I like when I'm working with a bass DI. Do you have much experience with any budget-friendly cab IR loaders, similar to 2Notes Captor but less than $200? More makes a pedal-sized one. There's one called the Cab Zone. Joel makes one. Just curious on a budget-friendly, better way than miking a cab for live sound, cover band stuff. Thank you, Mr. Tinker Train. Well, I don't know. Why is your name Mr. Tinker Train? I don't know. The world will never know, but it's a great name nonetheless. That is a great question. So with IR loaders, the problem is those standalone IR loaders, like you mentioned, the more is a great option. However, you know, in the less expensive versions, the IR loaders don't come with a load box. So then you're spending, you know, $150 on the IR loader, and then you have to spend another $200 for the load box, when you might as well just bought a 2Notes Captor for 400 bucks, you know, because you still have to have something for your amplifier to output its speaker cable into, right? So you still have to have a load on the amplifier head if it's a tube head. Some heads do not have to have one. This is what makes options like, you know, the Rev G20 and the Rev D20 so nice, is because, you know, they don't have to be plugged into a speaker cabinet, and they also have an impulse loader built in. You can just go straight to front of house if you want to with those amps, and those amps are becoming more and more prevalent. However, you know, the more is the one that I have personally used, and it was awesome, but I don't think you're considering the load box. So in that case, honestly, for most compact, least amount of cables, and the universality of it, honestly, I would just save up the money for a Torpedo Captor X. It's like $400. So, you know, if your budget less than $200, I would just wait, save up the additional money, and just get what's really right for you, as opposed to trying to piece it together. That's what I would do. Your mileage may vary though. What is it gonna take to get a production Ernie Ball Fluff baritone? Come on! Thank you, Tom, for your lovely question. You mean this baritone right here? A lot of people ask me about this baritone. This is, for those of you who haven't seen it, this is my custom-made baritone. I get asked about it all the time. I use it all the time. I love this guitar. The neck feels so good, and you know what? I don't even know much about it. It's mahogany body. I put Steph Fishman pickups in it, which sound great. It's so simple. I didn't get binding. I didn't get anything. I said, take a body, paint it black, give it to me. This is actually one of the reasons, not the only reason, but this was definitely a factor in Ernie Ball Music Man doing the limited BFR Axis baritone that they recently did, which is in a sparkle bound sparkle body, which was incredible looking. But yeah, I get asked about this guitar more than just about any other guitar, and I don't know if they would ever actually make a signature version of this, you know, to buy. I'm sure they will make more in the future because the BFRs did sell out, so you never know. But this is a nasty machine, and it's mine. How badly are you waiting for Westworld season 4? Oof. Okay, so I think I'm in the minority, so I love Westworld. I think there's also a little bit of a nostalgia factor for me personally, because my grandfather, my late grandfather, loved the original movie with Yul Brynner from the 70s. And a lot of people don't even know it was a 70s sci-fi flick. And he used to watch it all the time. It was his favorite movie of all time. At least like his top 3. He would literally be watching it every time we would go over to his house. But I am really excited for where Westworld is going, because yeah, season 1 is its own thing, and it was incredible. One of the best pieces of television ever. Season 2, still pretty good. Season 3, I like that they finally left the Westworld facilities, the world. I like that they're going into the real world, and I like where it's going, personally. It's interesting, it's fresh, and I know a lot of my friends want to see it, you know, this season is in a different world as opposed to the Western world, and then season 3 is in old-timey world, or you know, the 1920 world, or you know, the dinosaur age, or something like that, and it would just repeat. But I think that would get boring and stale. So yeah, I don't know anything about season 4 Westworld. I'm assuming everything got shut down because of COVID. Just gonna go ahead and make that assumption. But yeah, I can't wait to see it. I'm a huge fan of Westworld. Hey Fluff, I stripped an old guitar to customize and hit a roadblock when putting it back together. Have you got any tips for wiring pickups for a complete electrical novice? Mandatory gnome. Yes, I do. I do have some advice. I would try to get some not donor pickups. I would get some wire. I mean, geez, even go to the hardware store and get some 4-conductor wire and practice with a soldering iron. Practice, get a good wire stripper and practice stripping the wires, practice soldering on some donor wire. Also, YouTube videos are your friend. There's lots of really great tutorials. I have used some myself for various soldering things, and but I would practice on some donor wire, and then if you have some donor pickups before you actually go to wire your actual project guitar with your actual pickups you want to use. That's, yeah. YouTube, practice wire, practice your soldering. Lots of tips on YouTube. Yeah, you'll be all right. Just patience, take it slow, but the end result, I think, will be something that you'll be proud of. Other than your signature plugin, which do you think is the best plugin out there for guitar tone in terms of sound quality and usability? Good question, Krankenstein83. As far as guitar tones, I mean, we were playing around with a lot of plugins while tracking the new Dragged Under album, the second album. Of course, all the Neural DSP stuff is great. All of them, I'm just gonna make a blanket statement. All the Neural DSP stuff is great. All the ML SoundLab stuff is great. The STL Tones amp hub was a lot of fun to play around with. We were using that a lot in the studio. Ignite amps, which I think is now under STL Tones. I'm not really sure. That kind of falls under the STL amp hub thing. The first Dragged Under album was a combination of Chris Crummett's Kemper profiles and JST Jason Richardson, heavily EQ'd. So, but in terms of best bang for the buck, I mean, the free stuff is always good. My signature plugin is free to download, and you can get the EVH 5150 350 watt for free, and then try the other ones. And if you like them, you can buy the whole thing, which I'm not trying to plug my own stuff. However, my plugin is 50% off for this month of November, leading up to Black Friday, just to let you guys know. But Neural DSP, STL, ML SoundLab, Ignite are all really great guitar amp sims. There are so many out there, and it's such a great time to be a guitarist. There are so many great ones. Leave your favorite guitar amp sim plugin down below in the comments for Mr. Krankenstein83. I recently lost my job due to COVID and want to start freelance audio editing. How would you go about it? That is a great question, Aaron Paul 585. And there was an actual comment that I really, really liked to your question that I saw. And his advice was get on Fiverr, get on Craigslist, get out there and just start working. And what he meant by that was do free stuff. And my advice would be the same. Get on Fiverr, start advertising on Craigslist, Marketplace for Facebook, making posts for your Facebook. If you're good at what you do, they will come. But in order to get into the game, you are gonna have to do some free stuff. Trade for promo. Go to, I mean, I don't even know exactly, I mean, audio editing, so you're in the audio world. I would start going to bands and going, hey, if you need anything, I will do it, but you just have to credit me, and that will give you stuff to share on your own platform, and then it kind of works from there. You're gonna have to work for free at the start, but I would definitely get on Fiverr, definitely get on Craigslist, definitely get on forums, Facebook groups, social media, and all of that stuff. It can be done. It's crowded, but there's always room at the top for the best, in my opinion. So if you're good, put a little elbow grease into it and you'll be all right. And that does it for this episode of FAQ Monday. I hope you learned something, and I hope you had a good time conversing with good old dad here. I'm going to go fill up Morty's brain with more coffee, and yeah. You've been wonderful, I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, please consider subscribing. It helps me, help you, and then in turn you get more stuff to watch. And also, I have all sorts of stuff down in the description of this video. Sweetwater giveaway stuff, there's all sorts of links to all sorts of things, so consider checking that out as well if you're gonna hang. But if you don't hang, all good. I still love you.